Well, welcome to Learn from People Who Lived It. We are on location today, which I'm really excited about. And the word of the day is tools. We are going to learn tools today. So many of us have things that we're dealing with. So many of us have obstacles in our life, and we just wonder, how can I get around these things? What do I have to do to finally get over this hump? A Radiant Soul Center is the space that we're sitting in here today. How long have you had this space open? It's beautiful, by the way.
This space we've been about 5.5 years in Tempe.
How long have you been healing?
My whole life.
Really?
Yeah.
Ever since you were little, you had this gift, I bet, huh?
Yeah. Okay. I've been doing this professionally for about 14 years.
Okay.
So,
as we're in this huge room right now, there's a bed on the ground that a woman named Kate's going to lay on in a little bit. We're going to have an experience with her. I can see some gongs. I can see lots of sound bowls. So what's happening inside this room for you every day?
Oh, this room is my sanctuary. We do all kinds of sound journeys, healing, drumming, gongs, bowls, you name it, we probably have it. And there's lots of classes that we teach about navigating your intuition, opening up and learning different types of meditation, all kinds of different energy healing, anything that's holistic wellness, and part of those tools to help you navigate that human journey.
So I'm looking at my watch. It's August 22nd, the taping of this. And so that makes it a year and a month ago that I went to my big retreat up in Sedona and had the world flipped on its head for me. And it was in that 4-day retreat, if you can call it that. Retreat sounds fluffy, and mine was anything but. It was in that retreat on my third day, I had a sound bath. I had a sound healing after a really, let me set this up. I was in my therapy session with my healer, and for the first time in my life, I'd remembered a piece of abuse that had taken place from my childhood. I had never remembered it before. It just came to me. It flowed through me. And literally, as I was telling her the story, I said, this is the first time I've even remembered that this has happened to me. And she held the space for me, obviously. We got into her other room, and we started doing a sound bath. And she starts doing the noise and all the things. And I don't know if you've ever heard this story before, but she starts doing this thing, and I'm laying on the ground. And I'm pretty open. I got a good open mind. And so I'm laying there. I'm like, all right, let's give this a shot. And about 30 seconds into this thing, I'm like, all right, this is not my thing. It's okay. I've tried everything else. I've done a bunch of different modalities. This one just doesn't work for me. And then I started getting real agitated. Then I had to pee. And then I was like, just about ready to get up, Jeanette. And I'm just about ready to get up. And then all of a sudden, it's like somebody plugs electricity into the bottom of my feet, and my whole body just starts to vibrate. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what's really happening. So I'm just laying down. And the next thing I know, I can just feel it welling up in my stomach. And my eyes just start to leak. I'm not crying, not sobbing. My eyes just start to water, and things are just leaving my body. Within a minute or so, I'm in the deepest fetal position, sobbing episode that I can remember in a really long time. And after that sound bath, I mean, I tell everybody, I felt 200 pounds lighter, and I don't weigh 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So I know that there's some magic that's happening in those ceremonies. Yeah, you oh my gosh to me. So what are you seeing from your standpoint when you're doing these? Because you're the one performing the ceremony.
Yeah. It can be very much like that when you're one-on-one with somebody. You can go so deep. I mean, there's stuff in our DNA and in our cells that's not even from our own experiences. If you look up epigenetics or look into the HeartMap Institute, like there's all these studies around energy and electromagnetic fields and quantum fields. So we're not just you and I sitting here in our individual meat suits, right? We're like in each other's energy. And if you think about when you were a baby in your mother's womb, or when you were an egg inside your mother's womb, when she was carried in her mother's womb, right? So there's 3 generations that you are holding just at a physical level in your body, in your DNA. Whatever grandma went through, you went through.
Sure.
Whatever mom went through, you went through, right? And so on. So the sound healing, the energy work, all these things are here to help us not only unravel and untwist and unbury these really deep things that we don't even remember potentially as memories in this space, this lifetime, but we also have access to all these other wisdom experiences from our ancestors, from who we are in a quantum field. So when I'm facilitating a sound journey, I'm seeing all of that I'm not just seeing, okay, here's a person laying on the floor and they might be crying, or they might be having a vision of walking through a forest and planting some flowers. I see visions of things as they're happening, but I'm also seeing who they are as a soul, who they are in these quantum fields of consciousness at the level of creation, all these different layers. And it can be color. I can see the color of sound. I can see waves of energy just moving through the room, the way things are all connected. It's just incredible.
Can you ever see something on their body?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I can see where energy is stuck.
That's what I was thinking.
In the body.
Mm-hmm.
We have energy centers in the body called chakra systems.
Yeah.
And I can see where the energy is stuck, or there's a heaviness, or like a color is more muted or kind of squished. I can see other things that might be blocking the flow of life force. Because that's the goal, right? When you're in these healing spaces, is to restore flow.
It's funny, right? Like you could sit at home and you could try to do this in your kitchen, and for whatever reason you can't. But then you show up at a place like this and you get in here and there's sound bowls and there's a place to lay down and there's candles and incense burning and all the things, and you're like, I can finally tell somebody how I feel. What is that barrier there? Why can't we do that at home? Why do we oftentimes need to be in a place like this in order to achieve it?
I think it's because we're so stuck in our heads. Like you were saying, the thinking. We need to get more in touch with our hearts and with each other and with Mother Nature. I mean, human beings are not meant to be sitting in buildings or separated by cubicles or having nothing but a to-do list for their entire lives. That's not what we're here to experience, in my opinion. And so part of my job is to create sanctuary, a place where people can just come and feel home. And even if it's removed from their everyday lives, so many people come through the doors here at the center and they're just like, oh, I'm home, right? They can just relax and they know they're going to be loved, whether they're having a rough day or a good day. It's like, just come, just be a part of this space and let us love you.
So Kate's in the room. We're going to do something with Kate here in just a couple of moments. What do we think is getting ready to happen here? What is your plan? And I know you never really know, but you may have some intuitive ideas about what you're going to do first.
I'm feeling like maybe doing some timeline work or some belief work.
Okay.
So she'll lay down on the bed or the mat and I'll ask a couple questions and then she can answer like what's happening or what she's feeling or what she's seeing. And then opening up the channel to maybe offer some light codes. Kate is one of my clients that every time she comes in, we have these amazing light codes that come in for her because she's just on such an accelerated spiritual path.
I can tell.
I love going into those really advanced places that most people don't even know exist.
Yes.
So Kate's one of the ones I'm like, yay, let's play.
All right. Can you hear us okay, Kate?
I can. Thank you.
All right, cool. So she's on her mat now. How do you want to start?
Okay, so I'm going to do it from over here, Kate, which that's one of the beautiful things about energy work. We can send energy and do these kinds of healing sessions with people that are all the way on the other side of the world, right? So my hands do not need to touch her. She doesn't need to see me or feel me or know I'm even there. She just needs to give permission for the energy to flow, right?
You have my permission.
Awesome. Thank you, love. Okay. So we're just going to take a couple of deep breaths and send her into the space. I'm going to imagine dropping into the violet flame at the center of your heart. We're going to ask that violet flame to flow all through the body with each breath. The violet flame is the I am presence, the light of unconditional love that is always with you. And with each breath, it grows bigger, brighter, stronger all around you. Rising up through the top of the head, 4 feet in the air to the soul star. Flowing down through the body, down through the legs, the feet, into Mother Earth, 4 feet down, anchored in the planet, to your Earth star. And then just bring that awareness back to the heart. I'm feeling a bubble of light all around you, sensing the warm, tingly energy. Feeling the vibration of home, the vibration of nourishment and safety. And we're going to welcome our angels, guides, guardians, and support teams, our ancestors, all the energies of true love consciousness that are here today to support Kate. All right, Kate. Spirit is showing that we can work through something today if you're open to it.
Please.
They're showing to tune into that false belief program that's running in the background, even in the subconscious. So you may or may not be aware of this. Just let us know. But it's a perfectionism program.
I'm a Virgo, and that absolutely runs.
Okay, so perfectionism. And then I'm going to ask to identify the core belief, the false belief that's connected to this perfectionism energy. And then I'm just going to say, go ahead. Yeah.
I won't get in trouble, and I won't displease anyone if I am perfect.
If I'm perfect, everyone's happy.
Yes.
Okay. And let's look at that core belief. Is this a core belief, or is there something even deeper than that? It's blocking the flow for you.
Might be a survival skill.
Survival. If I'm perfect, I survive. Mm-hmm. Let's go even deeper. Feel in the body. Where is this showing up for you?
Safety in the second and solar plexus and the sacral.
Yeah. Belly and womb space. Yes. Okay. So let's go deeper into this. Survival. Perfection equals survival. Go into the womb, into the belly. Feel that energy. Just know you're safe. We're going to open up that channel within you a little bit more. We're going to ask this part of the body. You can even rest your hands over that area. Give it some love. And ask the body, is this the core belief around perfectionism? There's something under that.
Worthiness.
Worthiness. And what is that belief?
Linked to divine feminine.
So the divine feminine is not worthy? What's the belief?
Lack of power.
Okay. So the feminine must be perfect in order to be
Seen, heard.
there you go.
In a way that's
deeper.
Received.
Yeah. A little deeper. You're almost there. I can feel it. Yeah. So the feminine. So let's ask this question around this belief system. What would it actually feel like for the feminine to be in her power? To be witnessed and seen and received?
Can you see a rose unfolding, like you just blossoming, flow occurring, creativity occurring?
There you go. Go into the feeling of it. Visions are fun, but that's the mind.
Okay.
What is the feeling? Do you have space to feel in your womb, in your belly, empowerment of your feminine self? Or does it feel tight and restricted like a cage?
We're tight and restricted.
Okay. So we know what we want, but that space isn't there for it yet. So let's go a little deeper. What is this belief blocking the flow of feminine power? I'm unworthy. I'm not good enough. That's part of it, but there's something deeper here.
I lack the creativity, the gifts to be fully open.
I'm separate from my source. Because source is creative. Creation, yeah. So feel that for a moment. I am separate from Source. Does that feel like a core belief?
Probably.
Okay.
More root, yeah.
Okay.
It's anchoring in deeper, so.
So we're going to just take a moment. And we're going to call in a source frequency. I'm going to welcome Kate's highest self energy, her masculine and feminine in perfect balance. I'm going to call it in through the golden light. The gold holds all the colors and frequencies of creation. And just imagining golden waterfall now flowing through you. Golden light flowing from your hands into the belly, into the womb. Source light all around you. Letting yourself be scooped up in these hands of the divine feminine. Let yourself just feel it for a moment. A place of safety and nourishment. Keep breathing. Allow any of the heaviness to go into the light. The resistance, the stuckness. Embrace it. Thank it.
Thank you. Yeah.
There you go. Thank it for showing you the contrast. And we're going to ask any parts of your inner child to step forward that's embodying that resistance energy, that fear, that survival instinct. And just imagine that you can embrace her for a moment, any age, 3, showing up 6, showing up 12, showing up 23, showing up 33, showing up. Be in a circle with all these parts of you. And let them sit, let them be seen, let them cry, let them laugh, let them scream. Just witness, observe. Any of them that want to hug you, they can. Any of these parts of you that don't want to, that's fine too. As we're holding the space,
It goes back through my mother's lineage.
mm-hmm. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that.
And seeding that.
Seeing the survival.
Unseating.
Yeah, there's a lot there. So there's a little bit more depth there than I feel we should go into on this recording. There's some big trauma energies there, but we just want to hold space for it and witness it. It can even look like a ball of yarn, just kind of wrapped up. We're going to infuse that ball of yarn with the golden light, this place of safety and love and acceptance. And when we're ready, we'll be able to unravel this ball of yarn, restoring it to truth, and offering healing to any of these energies in the lineage that are ready to receive it. Does that feel a little more manageable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're just going to tune back in with the body. How's the stomach and the womb? How are those energies feeling now?
Complete.
Okay. So we're just going to let that energy flow down into Mother Earth. Going to wrap you in a bubble of the golden light with the violet flame, bringing in a wave of teal light from Mother Earth. Thank you. And we're going to ask our angels and guides and guardians to stay with us to complete what we've started here today. with grace and ease and perfect timing, as it all integrate with perfect flow. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Closing all connections, returning to our sovereignty. Thank you. As above, so below, so be it, and so it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now she can just kind of lay there and enjoy the moment, right? She doesn't have to get up so fast.
Yeah, she might fall over.
Sit there and stay in that. I may have a couple of questions that I
Yeah.
I want to ask you. You mentioned a series of numbers that were showing up at one point. You said 3, 6, 12, 23, and something else. So, Kate, I want to ask you if you're all right with it. Did any of those ages stand out for you?
Certainly 6.
6.
Probably going back to 3 as well. Just trauma. I thought it was interesting heading to 23 and 33.
I think the 23 was for me because that's how old I was when my dad died. So it made sense to me as soon as you said that, why that showed up. 23 is a big number for me, for sure. Yeah. So it might not have been for you. It might have been for me. I don't know. I might have been stealing some of that energy a little bit,
totally
right?
fine.
Like that's the room, right? That's what's so cool about this stuff. That's what I love is that, we're all in this healing space together. So when she's working you through some of that sequence, Kate, and I can watch you put your hands over your belly in that area. Are you feeling warmth?
Absolutely. And tightness, constriction, emotion there. It's helpful how Jeanette leads you away from thinking, as y'all were sharing, to really feeling and identifying and getting to that root cause, and really having to break it down. You saw how she guided me through breaking it down because my mind wants to overcomplicate it. And it's really just a feeling and observing the feeling and then allowing it to unfold and release.
And like I said at the onset of this thing, all of this trauma that we've experienced along the way is never going away. My buddy Dr. Dave will say it's like we're a vinyl record. All of these things are etched into the record. And so now therapy, healing, all these modalities are helping us learn to live with the sound of our record. And so these ceremonies are probably helpful to you. And I love that you brought in the inner child stuff because that was single-handedly the thing that unlocked my entire world. Was I didn't understand why I kept making decisions and why I had certain repeated behaviors. That just blew me away. Does that resonate with you too, Kate?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And so when you have this ceremony, you're able to get a little freer in your thinking.
I know we're prepared in sacred space, and so it allows me to feel safe and go deeper than I would be able to on my own.
Yeah. Huh. I love this stuff so much. I mean, I could be in this space almost the entire day. It's just, because it's so important. And you're so courageous for going through this with us. And I mean that. There's not a lot of people that would let themselves have a microphone stuffed in front of their face and go through, something like this. And, you backed off because you mentioned that you saw some difficult trauma coming up and some things that might not be great to share on podcasts and stuff. But how do you, what is that? Is that like, can you just feel a gnaw inside of you? What are you feeling when you get that vision?
I can feel it in my body. And then I can also, I get a vision of a ball of yarn. And I can feel and see at the same time these little energies. And sometimes I'll get a word of what the energy is. Or if I look at the ball, I'll start getting flashes of what's contained in the ball. Like the traumatic experiences that are ready to come up or that need to be healed. I can also feel any energies that are connected to those experiences. So it's not just Kate, but it's her ancestors, and it's possibly soul connections that aren't even in this lifetime. So that ball of yarn can get very big and deep quickly. And so that's more of like an hour and a half session to dive into something like that. Yeah.
You said, Kate, that you were able to recognize a moment where it didn't belong to you, it belonged to your mother's lineage. I don't know if you care to share that, but I mean, what did you mean by that?
Well, I've done a lot of work with Jeanette, and so I'm pretty well linked in with her and connected, and I just have a lot of intuition myself, and I'm able to identify, objectively what is coming through. And I just had a few moments before I spoke of it where I was just kind of just wrestling and testing it. But I really felt that it identified with that aspect of myself.
Yeah, we don't really think about that too much. And that would be almost a really good first step for most people who experience trauma, is to take a step back. And I'm, and learn from people who lived at episode number 9 was what I call my journey. So when I got home from my retreat, I put a microphone in front of my face and I recorded for 4 hours straight. And I just talked, anything that happened that weekend, I talked about it. And if it came up to a counselor, I put it on the tape. And one of the things that I was really careful to say is that, I experienced a lot of volatility as a child, but I'm really quick to look at the situation too. My father just returned from Vietnam. My mom was young. She had just tried to move to Florida. She had come back. She met my dad. They got pregnant. They weren't even married yet. Like, there was a whole bunch of stuff happening there before I even got here. Of course, that's going to show itself.
Of course.
Unless you have really, really, really done the work, of course, that stuff's going to show itself. And so it is important. So what's the benefit then? Because it doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it go away. But what's the benefit of understanding that?
I feel like when we're doing this kind of work and we're using all these tools, it's like taking a groove in the brain where there's been this memory or this trauma that's happened. And maybe that groove in the brain is like 20 feet deep, right? But utilizing all these different tools, even just developing our intuition so we're more confident in making our choices in our life. I mean, that right there is huge. That takes that 20-foot groove and maybe we can make it a 4-foot groove. It's not quite as deep and debilitating and feeling like a cage that you're trapped in, right? So no, we can't necessarily always get rid of it, but we can learn to navigate it. We can learn to rise above it or move through it instead of letting it become our story.
Do you find, Kate, because this was definitely my experience, that when you're in that space where you're trying to navigate, the thing that sucks about it the most, at least as far as I can tell, is the level of indecisiveness. When I'm in my head, I cannot make a decision. Do you experience that too?
Oh, absolutely. I think every human being does at some point in their. So I have to go to the heart space, as Jeanette advises, and start to really feel, and then look for words that represent emotion and feeling versus thinking and doing, and that helps me to center and repurpose.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that you challenged her a couple of times in that thing. You said, "Hey, that's in your head. That's not in your heart." So for people that don't understand that, I get you, but explain that to somebody who might not understand what you're talking about.
You can tell when you're in your head when you have a thought that just keeps going and going and going, or a story. Oh, this person did this thing to me. They did this thing to me. How could they do this thing to me, right? You keep going. That's in the head. When you're in your heart, you're feeling, oh, I feel sad because this thing happened to me. I feel angry because this thing happened to me, right? It's a feeling versus the story. And that's the difference. The heart gives you 1 or 2 words. Doesn't communicate a whole story. The heart doesn't need a story. The heart just needs to feel. And the brain needs to make a story because it's always trying to keep you safe. So that's one of the ways that I learned to navigate that. I love my husband. He's like my greatest teacher, but he has such an engineering mind, so logical and rational. And I can go there with him. We can have these amazing intellectual conversations, and it's mentally stimulating. But when I start talking about feelings, I lose him a lot of times.
Right.
And he'll start talking about something and I'll just watch it loop over and over. And then he'll try another way of saying the same thing. He'll try another way of saying the same thing. And I'll just say to him, come into your heart. Tell me how you feel about that. Tell me how you feel about that. When that happened, how did that make you feel?
Yeah. And he has no interest.
And he just wants to stay in the story because it's safer to not have to feel, right? We're taught that in our society, especially men. They're not allowed to feel. They're not, big boys don't cry.
Right.
That kind of energy. And then how we are in business, how we are with our veterans, like the majority are men. And we don't give them a space to just feel and be. Emotions are a powerful place. We shouldn't be burying them, trying to run away from them. The emotions coming up to show you where something's out of balance. So if we bury it, we can never figure out.
Like the body is brilliant and it sends you signals all the time, all the time. You know, your back starts to ache. It's like, okay, why is that happening? Right? My neck is, well, what's going on there? What am I thinking about? I mean, all of these things are sent as signals for us to pay attention and do something about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. So, Kate, last question for you will be, how will your day be different now after having a little work with her? What do you notice is different about the days you're here versus, not?
I sleep better.
I would guess that right away. That would be the first thing I would guess.
I'm more integrating all of the different emotions and feelings, and then I have a shift in perspective that I'm able to use and work with, and have ultimately, because of any trauma, more compassion for someone else and what they may be going through.
Yeah.
And so able to hold a little bit of space and step back and realize that they are having a feeling, but they're thinking about it in that story, and helping them get to that place where it can be shared if they feel so inclined. But just working through it and weaving it into my daily life, honestly, to just continue becoming a better person. Not perfect, but a better person.
Yeah, well, and there is that thing where, now that you know all the things you know, and Kate, you know all the things you know, and I know all the things I know, you can walk around this world and you can see people who are just kind of playing the game in a really hurt way. You can see people who just really have a lot on their heart and heads, and it's heavy. And how do you fight the urge to save the world?
Oh, that was a big one for me growing up, especially. I used to have these dreams, reoccurring dreams, where I was in space with a bunch of beings. I would call them angels. And I'm on the light side and there's the dark side. And I'm trying to get people to come over to the light side, right?
Yeah.
And there's all these beings in the middle that are in the gray zone. And I remember in the dream, my mom was in the gray zone. And I would wake up from this dream. And one time I shared it with her. I think it was about 8 years old. And I shared it with her, Mom, you're in the gray zone. Like, you got to come into the light. I've got to save you. Like, you have to do this. And she looked me straight in the face. And she said, Jeanette, I know who I am. I know where I am. Stop trying to save the world. And it was like, oh, but that's what I'm here for.
Right.
Like, I had this story, right? And at the moment, at the time, it was hurtful because I was like, oh my gosh, I can't save my mom.
Yeah, right.
As a little kid. But I love that she said that to me because I remember that. It stuck with me. And now as a teacher and a healer and a speaker and all these things that I do, I'm not here to save the world. I'm here to help people remember that they can save themselves. And when we're all in that space, we can help each other grow, right? I can't do the work for you, but I can hold your hand if you're having a hard time through it. I can walk with you through the valley of the shadow of the dead, but I can't take that step that you have to take. And I learned that a long time ago. My mom was instrumental in that. And I've had lots of instances where I've tried to be that healer. I've tried to come in there and help them so much because I can see their beautiful heart and I can see their potential. And then my beautiful heart forgets all their human stuff, all those places where they're stuck and not really wanting to step into their hearts, even if they say they are. So I just have practiced observing, compassionate witnessing. That's the key. Being very compassionate and knowing that in the end, we're all walking each other home.
Ram Dass.
I believe that fully.
That's it. I believe it too. Like every single one of us is 99.9 something, I forget what his number was, but we're all kind of the same. The last question I want to ask you is something that Dr. Camilla Pekka told me a few weeks ago, which is you can't heal without relationship. It seems to me like you're the relationship for your clients. They wouldn't be able to do the things they do without you. And that's important. That's where guides, that's where healers, that's where people like you come into play because folks are lost and they don't have a clear direction on where they want to go. So give me your feelings on that statement that you cannot heal without relationship.
Oh, I believe that 100%. I've had some training in the past where and even in spiritual circles, you'll hear them people say, everything you need is inside of you. Everything, if you can just be positive, just think happy thoughts and raise your vibration and everything will be okay. And I just want to shake those people.
Sure.
Because we're here to be human and to embody this human experience, the highs, the lows, the in-betweens. And I don't know about you, but pretty much everybody I meet has some kind of trauma in relation to someone else. We don't walk around traumatizing ourselves, okay? We're just not made that way. But we have these experiences with other people. And then even in spiritual circles, we're expected to heal our trauma ourselves. How? You had relational trauma. The only way to heal that is through safe relationship, safe relating. So that is a big thing for me, recognizing where I have power to do some of the things myself, and then also knowing when to ask for help, when to know I need some safety, I need some nourishment, and I need someone to reflect that back to me. That's huge.
Well, I hope people reach out to you, and I hope that they take you up on your offer to help them out. Because, as I've been doing this work now for a year, one of the clear-cut things that I've seen is that folks, including myself, they want to use the people around them to help themselves feel better. But I don't know that all of our friends and family members quite have the capacity to help us feel better. And, sometimes your wife isn't your greatest listener. Your husband isn't your greatest confidant. Sometimes your best friend can't fully hear you the way that you need to be heard. And this is where you come in. This is where rooms like this come in for people that are feeling lost and feeling like there's nobody in their space that they have that relationship with to heal. But they're out there. I'm telling you they're out there. I'm a grown man who used them, and it changed my life. And I know it can happen for you too. I don't care what happened to you along the way. I'm not here to compare trauma and stack it up and say whose is worse and whose is better. You know how I feel about this. The only useful part about comparing trauma is perspective. That's all it's useful for.
Agree.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps you shift your mind. Like, yes, if somebody's got it worse than you, it sucks. It doesn't mean your part doesn't blow still.
Exactly.
Right? What you got going on still sucks. Theirs might suck a little bit more on paper, but stop comparing the two. At best, maybe it offers you perspective that, okay, maybe I'm not lifting quite as heavy a load. I can manage this. I can work with this. Do you have this opinion? I guess I lied. I have one more question for you. Do you have this opinion that people can come in and they can do a few sessions with you and then they can leave? Or do you feel like this needs to be a part of their life continually?
Honestly, I think it's daily practice and connecting in community all the time as much as possible. I do. I think that we really need that as a society and as individuals because we're constantly growing, constantly evolving, right? If someone just wants to come in for a reading or like, oh, I've got some insomnia or I've got a headache, I would actually be doing them a disservice to say, oh yeah, just come in for this one session and then you're good to go.
Right.
Like I want to go deep. I want to work with those people that are wanting that transformation and they want to keep going because it never stops as we're having our human experience. We're human, so it's going to keep happening.
Right. And like Kate, it's like you're working on things right now. She's going to keep growing as a person. She's going to keep evolving as a person. New things are going to show up for her in 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? She might remember something 5 years from now that she hasn't remembered now. You're right. It's a good point that you just reach out every time you feel like you need them. Yeah. And asking for help is a pretty cool thing to do, I think. Yeah. Because we can't do this ourselves.
And having community is important too. Like when somebody's not in resonance with me, I can send them to somebody else that might be a better fit for them. So having a community and having people that we're connected to in all these different ways is so beautiful. Like I don't think I'm the end all be all for anyone. I'm just here if it works for you.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't, cool. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just part of the journey, right? Enjoy the ride. But in the end, we're all walking each other home. So you're a part of me. I'm a part of you. We're all teachers and students of each other all the time. So that's so beautiful.
And here's the other neat part. You've given her some tools. How many times, Kate, sorry, I had one more question for you too. How many times have you been able to use something you've learned here to help a friend?
Oh my goodness. All the time.
All the time, right?
I'm here to be a healer as well.
That's
and
it.
I may not do it in the same technique Jeanette does of taking people really deep. I do have those abilities, but my work's a little different. And I'm here just to, be the best I can be and shine my light and
There it is.
inspire others. So that's what I get from this work. So, yeah.
Thank you guys so much for your hour today of your time. It was great to visit with both of you, and continued luck as you continue to heal and keep being awesome over here, Jeanette. That is just so cool what you get to do every day. Do you love this?
I love it.
Yeah,
It's
this
so
is your
fun.
stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Every day you get to do this.
I love it so much.
Oh, I
I'm
love it.
so blessed.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you so much.